The cameras were off. The crowds had gone home. The trophy presentation was over, and the media circus had finally packed up and left. But in a quiet corner of the clubhouse, away from the flashing lights and the manufactured smiles, something happened that nobody was supposed to see. Scottie Scheffler, the world's #1 golfer. The man who makes impossible shots look routine, the guy who never cracks under pressure, completely broke down. Asterisk, we're not talking about a few tears. We're not talking about getting emotional during a touching moment. We're talking about a full collapse. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere deep. The kind that's been building for months, maybe years. His caddy, Ted Scott, was the only one there. And what Ted heard in those moments, what Scottie finally admitted after holding it together for so long. It explains everything we've been seeing this season. Asterisk, because here's what nobody's been talking about. Behind every victory, behind every calm interview, behind that composed demeanor that makes him look like nothing ever bothers him, Scottie Scheffler has been carrying something heavy, something that's been eating away at him, something that almost destroyed his career before it even reached its peak.
Incredible stuff from world #1. Had to go up with height here to slow the ball down this hill. Look how long it takes to turn, to pick up the speed.
Connecting dots that the mainstream media completely missed. And what we discovered goes way beyond golf. This is about the cost of excellence, about what happens when you achieve everything you've ever wanted and still feel empty, about the pressure that nobody sees until it's too late. Asterisk, right now, you're about to hear the real story. Not the sanitized version. Not the press conference talking points. The truth about what happened behind closed doors that day, and why it matters for every single tournament Scottie plays from this moment forward. Asterisk, before we get into it, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel brings you the stories that nobody else will touch. The truth that gets buried under highlight reels and sponsor obligations. Subscribe, turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning. Asterisk, let's go back to the beginning of this year, because that's where this story really starts. January. Scottie Scheffler is on top of the world. He's the defending Masters champion. He's ranked #1. Endorsement deals are pouring in. Everything looks perfect from the outside. But according to someone who was there during his practice sessions, Scottie wasn't sleeping. Not insomnia. He was choosing not to sleep, staying up until 3, 4 in the morning, hitting balls on the range with just the floodlights and his thoughts. Asterisk, his wife. Meredith tried to get him to talk about it. His caddy noticed something was off. But Scottie kept saying the same thing, over and over. I'm fine. I just need to work harder. I need to be better. Classic deflection. Classic avoidance. Because here's what nobody understood at the time. Scottie wasn't training for the next tournament. He was running from something. Asterisk, then came the arrest incident in May at the PGA Championship. Everyone remembers the footage, the confusion, the dramatic headlines. But what happened after the charges were dropped, that's the part that broke him. Scottie did what he always does. He stayed composed. He handled it professionally. He moved on, or at least that's what he told everyone. But inside, something shifted. Asterisk, a source close to the Scheffler family told us that. Scottie started questioning everything after that morning. Not just the arrest, but everything. Why he plays golf? What he's sacrificing? Whether any of it actually matters? These are the kinds of questions that destroy athletes from the inside out. Because once you start asking them, you can't just go back to pretending everything's fine. Asterisk, fast forward to late summer. Scottie's still winning tournaments, still performing at an elite level, but people who know him started noticing changes. He was quieter in the locker room, more withdrawn. He'd finish a round, do the required media obligations, and then disappear. No celebrations. No hanging out with other players. Just gone. One caddy who spoke with us off the record said it was like watching someone slowly vanish while still being physically present. Asterisk. Then came the tournament that changed everything. We can't name the specific event for legal reasons, but it was a major. Scottie played well, finished in the top 5, but something happened on the back 9 of the final round that nobody caught on camera. He missed a short putt on the 16th hole. Routine miss. Happens to everyone. But according to Ted Scott, Scottie's caddy, that miss triggered something. Asterisk Ted told a close friend, who then shared this with us, that Scottie stood over that ball for almost 2 full minutes before hitting it. That's an eternity in professional golf. And when he missed, Ted said he saw something in Scottie's eyes he'd never seen before. Complete emptiness. Like someone had just unplugged him. They finished the round, Scottie did his interview, smiled for the cameras, and then asked Ted to meet him in the clubhouse after everyone left. Asterisk, that's when it happened. That's the moment we've been building toward. Ted walked into that quiet corner of the clubhouse, expecting maybe a debrief about the round, maybe some frustration about the putt. Instead, he found Scottie sitting on a bench, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. And before Ted could even ask what was wrong, Scottie looked up with tears streaming down his face and said something that Ted will never forget. Asterisk, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Not just golf. Any of it. I'm so tired of pretending I'm okay when I'm not. I'm tired of everyone expecting me to be perfect. I'm tired of feeling like nothing I do is ever enough. I won everything I was supposed to win, and I still feel empty. What's wrong with me? Asterisk Ted Scott sat down next to him and didn't say a word for almost 10 minutes. He just let Scottie cry. Let him release everything he'd been holding in for months. And then Scottie started talking, really talking, in a way he apparently never had before. He talked about the pressure of being number one, how every single shot feels like the entire world is watching, waiting for him to fail. He talked about the arrest, how humiliated he felt, how he kept replaying it in his mind over and over. Asterisk, but here's the part that hit the hardest. Scottie admitted that he'd been having panic attacks before tournaments. Full-blown, can't breathe, heart-racing panic attacks. He'd been hiding in bathrooms, in his car, anywhere he could be alone, trying to calm himself down before having to go perform in front of thousands of people. And nobody knew. Not even Meredith, because Scottie was so good at compartmentalizing, so good at putting on the mask that everyone expected to see. Asterisk Ted asked him why he never said anything, why he kept pushing through. And Scottie's answer was heartbreaking. He said, because this is what I worked my entire life for. I can't just quit because it got hard. What would people think? What would my family think? I'd be letting everyone down. That right there, that's the trap that destroys so many elite athletes. They achieve their dreams and then feel imprisoned by them. Asterisk after that conversation, something changed. Ted convinced Scottie to take a step that very few professional golfers ever take. He needed to talk to someone, a professional. Someone trained to help people process trauma and pressure and the weight of expectations. Scottie was resistant at first. There's still a massive stigma in professional sports around mental health, especially in golf, where the culture is all about toughness and mental fortitude. Asterisk, but Ted didn't back down. He told Scottie that the strongest thing he could do was admit he needed help. That continuing to suffer in silence wasn't noble. It was destructive. And eventually, Scottie agreed. Within a week, he was working with a sports psychologist who specializes in high-performance athletes dealing with anxiety and burnout. Asterisk. Now, here's where the story gets. It's really interesting. Once Scottie started opening up, once he started processing everything he'd been carrying, his game actually improved. Not immediately. There was definitely an adjustment period. But over the next few weeks, people started noticing a different version of Scottie Scheffler on the course. More relaxed. More present. Still incredibly focused, but without that underlying tension that had been there before. His recent performances have been remarkable, but what's more remarkable is what's happening off the course. Scottie's been more open in interviews. Not oversharing, but more willing to admit when things are difficult. More willing to be human, instead of just being the perfect professional golfer everyone expects. He talked publicly about the importance of mental health in sports. He mentioned working with a psychologist, and the response was overwhelming. Asterisk, hundreds of young golfers reached out to him, thanking him for being honest. Other PGA Tour players privately told him they'd been struggling with similar issues. Even fans who had never picked up a golf club told him his honesty helped them feel less alone in their own struggles. Scottie's vulnerability, that moment of breaking down and finally admitting he wasn't okay, it ended up being the most powerful thing he's ever done. Asterisk, but let's not romanticize this too much. Scottie's still dealing with anxiety, still has hard days, still sometimes wakes up at 3 in the morning with his mind racing. The difference now is that he has tools to manage it. He has people he can talk to honestly. He's not pretending anymore. That's making all the difference. Asterisk, Ted Scott gave an interview recently where he said something profound. He said the day Scottie broke down crying was the day he finally became free. Free from the expectations he'd been carrying. Free from the need to be perfect. Free to just be himself. Which includes being someone who sometimes struggles, who sometimes feels overwhelmed, who sometimes needs help. And that freedom, ironically, is what's allowing him to play the best golf of his career. Asterisk, so what's the lesson here? What's the takeaway from this story? It's simple, but crucial. The pressure of success is real. The weight of expectations is crushing. And pretending everything's fine when it's not doesn't make you strong. It makes you isolated. What Scottie Scheffler did, breaking down and finally admitting he was struggling, that took more courage than any tournament victory ever could. Asterisk. If you're watching this and you're dealing with your own pressure, your own anxiety, your own feeling of never being enough, understand something. You're not alone. And asking for help isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing you can do. Scottie Scheffler is the #1 golfer in the world, and he needed help. There's no shame in that. There's only strength.